Help is mainly used for the shell built-in commands. Okay, syntax is very simple: help and cd. Suppose cd command, so it gives the documentation of the cd command, and it will give the detailed documentation of the cd command. Okay, so what is the difference between man command and help command? Because man command also gives the documentation and options and everything, and the help command also gives the documentation. But the simple difference between these two commands is man is external Linux commands. Man is used for the external Linux commands, and help is used for the shell built-in commands. Okay, shell built-in commands. Okay, so let's understand why. Let's understand the difference between external Linux command and the shell built-in command. Okay, because this is very important, because we are using man command and help command, which works almost same way, but this help command gives you detailed information. That is the only difference, but there are some other differences also. First, as I said, man is for the external Linux commands, and help is for the shell built-in commands. Now, what is external Linux commands? So external Linux command are actually program files. Okay, so let me external Linux commands and shell built-in commands. Now we are talking about difference between man and help. Difference between man and help, because both commands giving us information about the other commands, documentation and all. So why do we have two different commands for the documentation, checking documentation? Because man is for the external Linux commands and help is for the shell built-in commands. So what is external Linux commands? So external commands are actual program files stored somewhere in the Linux systems. Okay, let me note down here. So external command are the actual program file stored somewhere in the Linux file system. Okay, so these commands exist as a executable file. Okay, so usually stored in directories like bin or usr bin or sbin or usr sbin. So in these directories, these external Linux commands will be stored. Not Linux commands, they are executable files. When you run the command, the shell searches these directories and execute the file. Okay, so for example, ls command, cp command, cp is for the copy, mv, grep, find, cat, ping command. These commands are executable programs, and these are executable files are exist somewhere in these directories. Okay, now let's find out where is the exist. Okay, so let's try one command, which command, and grep. So it gives you that a grep command is exist in the this path -user bin -user -bin. We have seen, right? We have just discussed, right? This is executable files will be either in /bin/user bin/sbin or /user/sbin. Okay, so one of these directory this executable file will be exist. So this grep command is existing dash slash user slash bin. Okay, so this one. Now again, let's try the same command. Which command? For the cd command. So this is showing in the same directory. Okay, so this executable file for these commands are exist in one of these directory. That's why these are the external Linux commands. Okay, so what are the characteristics of the external commands? So external commands first is stored as a file somewhere. Okay, then located in file system. So first is stored as a file, that is mandatory. Then it will be located in the file system. Then it need executable file. Okay, these will be executed by shell and can work independently. Okay, so these are the external Linux commands. Now let's understand what are shell built-in commands. Okay, so shell built-in commands are commands which are built into the shell itself. Okay, so that's why the shell built-in commands, they don't have separate executable files, not required. Okay, so external Linux commands are required executable files, but shell built-in commands don't require executable files. Okay, so these commands are part of the shell functionality. Okay, so what are the characteristics of the shell built-in commands? First is there is no need of executable file. Those are part of shell. Since these are part of the shell, those are faster to run or execute. These are executed internally only and it doesn't require separate program. Okay, so this is the difference between external Linux commands and shell built-in commands. Okay, so external Linux commands are stored as a file located in file system somewhere, need executable files. Those are executed by the shell and can work independently. Shell built-in commands are built in the shell itself, so that's why separate executable file is not required. Those are part of the shell itself. So since these are the part of shell, those will be run faster, execution will be faster, will be executed internally and doesn't require the separate program. So this is the difference between external Linux command and shell built-in command. So man is the external Linux command, is for the external Linux command, whereas help is for the shell built-in commands. Okay, but now we understood the difference between man and help command. One man is for the external Linux command, help is for the shell built-in command. Now let's understand how to run the help command. So help and cd. So you see in this case it has given too much data. Okay, because help gives information in detail format. So whatever command you have, so it will give the detailed information of the command. Okay, now let's take one more example, help echo. So if you see for the echo command, it has given all the information of the echo. Write arguments to the standard output, display args separated by single space character and followed by new line on the standard output. These are the options. Okay, so everything is given. You don't need to exit from this, because when you use man command, you go into the documentation, you use slash and then search word and you can search it. But to get out of that documentation, you need to exit using option Q. Here you don't need to exit into using any option, because it doesn't go into the documentation, it gives you information directly. Okay, so if man page is not available for some built-in commands, use help command. Why? Because man is for the external commands and help is useful for beginners. So man is not available, use help command.